Hi, I'm Steve Endo, and I'm a Microsoft MVP. Today I'd like to share a few SQL Server backup tips that will hopefully make your backups a little bit easier when using SQL Server Management Studio. First, let's talk about two server-level backup options. One option I like to enable is backup compression. When compression is enabled at the server level, it becomes the default option for all new backups that you run. The second server option I like to change is the default backup location. This will save you time and make it easier to consistently save your backups in a convenient location. Let's take a look at those server options. The first server option is enabling backup compression. If you right-click on your SQL instance, go to Properties, click on the Database Settings page, here you'll see the Compress Backup option. This defaults it at the server level so that all individual backups use database compression. Below that, you'll see the default backup location. You'll see that I've set this to a location on the C drive rather than the default program files location. Rather than changing it every time you run a backup, go ahead and change the default path here to save time and ensure that your backups end up in the right location. Once you've set your server backup options, you can still override the options or specify additional database backup options with each backup. So you can specify the database level backup compression option for each backup and also change the backup path if necessary. But one option that is unique at the database backup level is the copy-only backup option. If you're doing a one-off manual backup, this option prevents the backup from interfering with any existing differential backup chains, and it also prevents the manual backup from affecting your log backups. Let's review these database options. Regardless of the server backup options, you can make changes at the database backup level. So if I right-click on my database, choose Tasks, and choose Backup, I can go to my backup options, and I can change the backup compression option. Normally I'd use the default server setting, but I do have the option to override that by either compressing the backup or not compressing the backup. Then the other option that is unique at the database backup level is the copy-only backup. So I'll choose that when I'm doing my one-off manual backup so that I don't disturb any differential backup chains or any log backups. There are a few alternative backup options that may come in handy as well. First is the table backup, which I use fairly regularly. Many times you need to update or delete a few records in one or two tables, but you don't want to have to back up the entire database before making the change. Using the Import-Export Data Wizard in SQL Server, you can quickly and easily make a backup of one or more tables. Next is the option to detach a database, make a copy of the database files, and then reattach the database files, often to a different SQL server. While this is not commonly used for production backup purposes, it's an extra option if you're looking to replicate test or development databases to another server. I've had to use it in a few unusual situations, such as where I needed to quickly swap between two different versions of a database. To perform a table backup, let's right-click on the database, choose Tasks, and choose Export Data. The Import and Export Wizard will help us perform a backup of the individual tables that we want. I will choose SQL Native Client and choose my TWO Fabricam database. And so that's my source. I'm going to choose to have the destination on my same server, and I'm going to have it back up the tables to the same database as well. And I'm going to copy data from one or more tables or views. I don't want to write the query in this case. And so here it lists all of my tables. I'm going to scroll down and choose the GL 10,000 table, and I see that I've made other backups. And so I'll give this a unique name. Click on Next, and run immediately, and finish. And in just a few seconds, it's made a backup of my GL10000 table, so now I can go ahead and make changes, updates, whatever is necessary. To detach and attach a database, you'll right-click on the database, choose Tasks, and Detach. Normally, you'd want to make sure that all of the connections are closed for the database before you do this, and typically this would be done in a non-production environment. You see that it shows 4 active connections, so I'm going to choose to drop those connections on the Detach. And I will click OK. And you'll notice that the TWO database is no longer listed here. I can then navigate in Windows Explorer, go to Program Files, and take a look in my SQL Server data directory. And these are the files related to the TWO database, so I can now safely copy those MDF and LDF files, whether I need to move them to a new server, make a quick backup, whatever the case, those files are now unlocked. Once I'm done doing what I need to, I can then reattach the files either to the same server or a different server. I right-click on the Databases folder, choose Attach, click on the Add button to add the databases, and I will choose my TWO database here. You only need to select the MDF file, click OK. It automatically detects both the MDF and LDF, and click OK. And you'll see my TWO database is back, and I can browse it. Now that you have your database options handled, I find it's often good to occasionally review what you're actually backing up. I recommend occasionally checking the size of your databases and your log files, and I find that many customers are surprised by the size of their databases. Fortunately, there's a simple query that shows you the sizes of your physical database and log files. Here is the simple query that shows me the list of database sizes on my server. So I'll just execute this query. And there we have a nice list of the database file sizes and includes separate listings for MDF and LDF files. And I see that my Dynamics and TWO database are the largest ones. So now that you know how large your databases are, what if you want to know why your databases are so large or seem to have grown quickly? Fortunately, there's another query that can show you which tables are consuming the most space within a database. Let's take a look. So here is the BigTables.sql script that allows me to see the size of tables within a database. I'm just going to run this against the Fabricam database as well. And after a few seconds, I see that my GL20000 table is one of the largest tables with 22,000 rows, consuming about 23 megabytes. And this script also breaks out the size of the data versus the size of the indexes. Sometimes you can have very large indexes for a given table. So it shows you all of the data and sizes for your tables. I hope you found these SQL backup tips useful. Please check out my other videos, my blog, and follow me on Twitter @SteveEndo.